And we're back. Alright. So. Good grief, Satoru. This man writes essays about things. So many things! That's right. I'll forget something important. Sorry, I need to step out for a minute. Saying those words to the three of them, I stood up from the table. Headed down the underground storeroom. Searching through my pockets, took out my voice recorder from before. I'd missed my chance to tell Kokoro something important before the last transfer. I sorted out what I wanted to say in my mind, then pushed the record button. This is a continuation message from before. Since I didn't transfer again, I'll get down to business. Come down and listen. Someone's after my life. 2 incidents, yada yada. I don't see there's Tsumi-san. This is Gary Hattori. Anyway, next sentence caught my throat. Would it be wise for me to continue recording? What would Kokoro think after hearing this? I don't know her mental state. It's not possible for me to see her facial expressions either. She might be terrified, having been caught up in a transference phenomenon. Reading this message could cause her even more anxiety. What should I do? After much hesitation, I decided to continue after all. Even if it does cause her anxiety, it's better to leave her in defenseless, I've decided. Of course, I know you and I don't want to think about it. It might be baseless anxiety. Isn't that right? Body's mine, at the same time it's yours. I'm counting on you. There we go. Sound data saved. Data 2 saved appeared on the LCD screen. Returned the voice recorder in my pocket. Then I looked around the storeroom. Something to write on. Digging in the bottom of the toolbox, I managed to find a worn-looking felt-tip pen. Is there any paper? I didn't think in like a notebook or a memo pad. Guess I can use this box. It's a rough little piece of cardboard box and ran my pen across it. Please listen to the voice recorder. The two-stage method was troublesome, but I couldn't think of any other options. If possible, I don't want the other three to know about this personality exchange phenomenon. No, I wouldn't mind if they knew, but they'd probably lose trust in me if I had tried to explain it to them. I didn't want to attempt the impossible. The contents of the message were for Kokoro alone. Folding up strapped piece of paper, I gripped it in my hand as I climbed back up. Hey, what were you doing down there? Uni suddenly asked me as I stepped off the ladder. Oh, nothing much. Leaving at that, I returned to my seat. You're weird, Starro. Muttering that, Uni returned to his meal. I faced Yomogi and held out the folded scrap of paper. Could you give this to Kokoro when she gets back? When she gets back? Yomogi tilted his head. I was still uneasy about it, but I haven't seen another way. When my personality changes back to Kokoro, please give her this. Perhaps he understood, since Yomogi quietly took it from me. Don't forget, okay? Sure. He said it easily, slipping a piece of paper into the scrap piece of paper in his pocket. Yomogi didn't appear to be harboring any remaining doubts that our personalities were exchanging places. Uni was the same. As soon as I took my seat, Uni called me Satoru like it was a natural thing to do. Probably had already come to terms with it completely. Probably accepted me as another personality that had sprouted from within Fuyukawa Kokoro. Lynn alone still suspected the DID theory, but since last night, and even just now, she'd stopped treating me with the open suspicion she displayed before. Had she given up? Or maybe she just decided it was too much of a pain to continue with. Probably the second. In any case, nobody was dismissing my own explanation for my behavior anymore. Should I be happy about this or not? As I absentmindedly thought that, I picked up the spoon and tipped it in the group. Swap! Well, that was short. Reflection 1. Before I knew it, the spoon had vanished from my right hand. In my place, the left hand had a felt-tip pen. What? I'm back. I came back. Looking around, I quickly understood that I was in the room at Sphia. My room. I was sitting in a chair facing the desk. No one had been left on the desktop. Compared to the previous transfer, it took me a little longer to take stock of the situation this time. I turned my gaze to the felt-tip pen in my left hand. Left hand? So Kokoro's left-handed then. Since the position of my body right now reflects Kokoro's precisely before the transfer, that would be obvious explanation. In any case, I can more or less understand why she wears a wristwatch on her right wrist. Guess it would get in the way if you wore it on your dominant hand. I see, Kokoro's left-handed. Uttering that new piece of information myself, I shifted my gaze back to the note. Transfer happened at 1:07 p.m. Below it was kind of an unidentifiable scrawl. Those letters, or a picture, or some sort of code? I couldn't tell. Tilt the memo diagonally, then tried holding up the light, and I couldn't decipher it. What is this? No way. A drawing? To be fair, it wasn't completely impossible to see it was a drawing. But if it was the case, it would mean that Fuyukawa Kokoro's drawing skills are bad enough to actually frighten people. Or possibly she tried to reproduce an early 20th century abstract painting of some sort. Unintelligible, incomprehensible. It was as if forced to take some kind of meaning to it, like a Rorschach test of some kind. Most folks know what a Rorschach is because they've seen Watchmen. But a Rorschach test, a type of projective psychological test. Subject of the test is first asked to interpret a series of cards with ambiguous bilateral symmetric inkblot designs. The answers are then analyzed to try and determine the person's personality characteristics. Invented by Rorschach, Hermann Rorschach, in 1884 to 1922, a Swiss psychologist. They are still used today, but not nearly with the weight, and not necessarily with the same purpose. They're less so used to determine personality and more used to determine current state of mind. And even then, they're highly interpretive. So it's really difficult. Usually what you would do nowadays, my understanding, is that when you give someone a Rorschach test, you don't interpret it for them. You ask them, why do you think you saw it that way? And sometimes you'll get certain responses that way. Doesn't always work. Some people, it's just their response is because it obviously looks like X or something. And then you have to interpret your own end necessarily. It's kind of hard and really, really, really subjective, so it's not really used as much today. A Daruma whose body was swollen to grotesque proportions due to the abuse of steroids undergoing a physical examination. Or something. Sorry, I have to move my chair. It's rolling over stuff. Anyway, it's a strange picture that would have been hard to describe any other way. As I stared at it intently, I could almost feel my brain cells dying. I feel like I'm in danger of getting pulled into the Twilight Zone. I covered different parts of the drawing with the palm of my hand, shaking my head with increasing violence each time. Took a deep breath. Wiping the sweat cascading from my forehead, decided to do something to lighten the mood. Transfer happened at 1:07 p.m. I concentrated on those words. 1:07, the exact same time I woke up during the last transfer. As I thought, our transfers take place simultaneously. Though, that said, all that gathers one item of data. With only that, you could easily just call it a mere coincidence. I can't deny the possibility the transfer occurred while Kokoro and I were asleep either. Just in case, let's keep writing down the times of our transfers. I almost forgot. Time is... Still took the wristwatch out of my pocket and snuck a quick look at the display. 13:45. I think I spent time around 4 or 5 minutes looking at the drawing thing. Right. Let's see, the transfer occurred at 1:40. If we say the perception of time is accurate and there are no errors in my calculations, then the last transfer was at 1:07, this one was at 1:40, so it was in the shelter cabin for 33 minutes total. About 30 minutes. So I had to engrave this number deep in my memory as well. At any rate, I muttered as my eyes fell on the note once again. The vertigo-inducing drawing, and the message saying the transfer happened at 1:07. Geez, was that it? Not even a greeting or a self-introduction? Well, since we were in a state of emergency, those kinds of formal gestures certainly are trivial, but even if it was just one word, I would have appreciated if she'd written some kind of a reply. From just this, I didn't even know if she actually got the message I left last time or not. What kind of woman she is, what she's thinking right now, how she feels. No, wait. There were only two things I asked her for. That was to write a reply, and the other was to check time and transfer for me. And a note sentence the transfer happened certainly seems to qualify as a reply. Basically, with just 6 words, she precisely filled my request. Moreover, she was polite enough to add the drawing-like thing. Going by this, I can understand she feels certain, she's liked to a certain extent. She is mentally stable enough to draw a picture. I don't get the impression of hostility from the picture, so I guess it doesn't feel like she hates me. If she meant for the sketch to calm me down, maybe she's even seeking to establish a friendly relationship. She has no future as an artist. Ouch! She managed to get all this information in one little drawing. Avoiding unnecessary details and silly down just necessary information, she reported back to me in the most efficient way. Taking all this into consideration, I could make further conjectures as follows. Though you can't really see it in the picture, I suspect she possesses a surprisingly keen mind. Well, she sure had me fooled. She seems to be very quick-witted, quite the sly one. Here's the thing. For people like Satoru and I, we like to overanalyze everything. We like to look at every single minute detail and make assumptions based on a collection of the data. Unfortunately, one of the base assumptions you make is that everybody does that. That's not really the case. Not everybody looks so deeply into everything and overthinks them. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying we're better than people because we do stuff like that at all, because that'd be silly. Obviously, as Satoru's misconceptions are evident, or at the very least not misconceptions, but assumptions, You tend to make some very wrong assumptions if you look too deeply into things, rather than, you know, look at the surface and, you know, seeing the forest for the trees kind of thing. That's a problem of mine. I felt like she'd seen right through me. I tapped the base of the felt tip pen against my temple. Polyhedron. Left the room. Nobody was in the living area. For the time being, I was left without a clue as to what to do next. From that world to this one. After the transfer occurred, I couldn't get my train of thought back on track. A switch inside my head isn't something that can be turned on and off that easily. I couldn't even think both the shelter cabin and Sphia at the same time. Right now I'm at Sphia, so I'll stick with thinking about Sphia. It's a rather simple line of reasoning, but if I don't start to think all the information pertaining to this place, I won't be able to get my thoughts in order. Now then, calmly surveyed the room. I've already spoken to Utsumi before noon, so my next task would be talk to Uni and Ibushi. First I'll go to Uni's room. Head over to Uni's room. Come in! When I knocked, I heard Uni's voice from within. I opened the door and entered the room. Both Uni and Utsumi were here. They were sitting side by side in the bed, both turned to look at me. Oh, well then, Uni-kun, I'll be going now. Utsumi slowly got to her feet. They changed clothes again. And just like that, she slipped past me and out of the room. What were you talking about? I casually approached Uni and sat down in Utsumi's place. Oh, it was nothing. We were just chatting. Just idle conversation and kill some time. It sounded like he was evading the question. However, it probably wasn't something worth dragging out of him. I see. I brushed the thought aside without letting it get to me. And then Uni... Why do you come here for, Kokoro? He asked me with a meek little tilt of his head. Again, fed up, I answered him. Right now I'm not Fuyuko Kokoro. Can't you tell from the way I talk or act? Sorry. Because you were Kokoro just a minute ago. Uni here, like Utsumi and the people at the shelter cabin, were completely convinced I had DID. Seemed like the obvious conclusion. Who could imagine that in reality I was stuck in a cycle of not only personality exchanges but time jumps too. Even now it still felt completely irrational. Sure it's confusing, huh? Yeah, you said it. My shoulders slumped in utter resignation. Uni giggled quietly. It was the charming smile of an innocent child. The sight of it made my own facial muscles relax as well. And did you want me for something? Oh, that's right, let's see. I stretched both arms behind my head and put my feet up. Well, the truth is, there's something I wanted to ask you. Something you asked me? And what is it? Well, Uni, what were you doing this time around last year? What do you want to know? Oh, well, how should I say it? I'm just killing time. Killing time. I don't have anything to do after all. At my answer, Uni crossed his arms and looked up at the ceiling, nibbled lightly on his lip. He started to blink repeatedly, and the words finally fell from his lips were, I was rocking! Huh? Rock and roll! I was rock and rolling! See, from his perspective, the plane just crashed. So... A genre of pop world music came into fashion in the 1950s in America and soon after the rest of the world, based on black musicians' rhythm and blues, with additional influences from Caucasian country music, also known as rock. You know, I was attending a capoeira. Oh god, I have no idea how to pronounce that. I know of it, but... Dojo, and the master there said to me... Capoeira! An Afro-Brazilian martial arts. Moving to the rhythm of drum-centric live music, two people move as one in an intricately choreographed dance, created by black slaves that has roots in ancient African techniques. Historically, leaders of the art disguised as a form of folk dance so they could be practiced openly. You should cultivate a better sense of rhythm, Kusuda-kun. And that's why I started rock and rolling. Rock is amazing, you know? Like the leather pants, they're so shiny. Wait. I have no idea what you're talking about. What I'm talking about? You can't just demand a meaning from rock. You gotta accept the positive vibes of peace and love. Uni gets it. I was speechless for a moment. The vibes of peace and love were rocking my brain. I see. So you were rock and rolling around this time last year, right? Yep. Why were you doing it? In my room. Uni replied immediately. In your room? Not in Okakura. Okakura? What's that, a mushroom? Mushrooms are my favorite, you know. Not the slightest hint of a shadow had crossed that smiling face. He didn't seem to be lying. Okay. So, no, that doesn't really pin it down, because we think the transfer happened either during the flight or immediately after the crash. And they don't know they're on Mount Akakura until they get into the cabin. And we're already pretty certain that future Uni's the one who gets them to the cabin in the first place. He doesn't seem to be lying. What did this mean? Uni must have been in a shelter cabin on Mount Akakura around now in 2011. For that incomprehensible answer. Did the shock of the accident cause him to go a little funny in the head? But still, are the Uni of Mount Akakura and the Uni here really different people? I stared fixedly at Uni's face. Shape, features, eye color, from his hairstyle, design, his glasses, everything about him was the same as the Uni from the shelter cabin. What is it? Do I have something on my face? Uni asked, unnerved. I gazed deep in his eyes. Might be a sudden question, but you're not a clone either, are you? Nope. Do you have any siblings then? None. I'm an only child. I see. Hey, Sitara, what is it really? You know, I almost forgot that cloning is a thing in this universe. They couldn't possibly have mentioned that without it being important. What is it really? Why are you asking me all these things? I told you I'm just killing time. That seems misleading. Let's do it. Oh, actually, almost exactly a year ago from today, I met a guy who looked just like you. In a shelter cabin on a mountain called Akakura. I've never been to a place like that. I just said I don't have a clone. I must have met someone who looked like me, right? You hear it a lot, right? In the world, there are other people who have a mirror image of you? Give a slight nod. That wasn't a response from the heart. Uni's case went far deeper than mere physical similarity. The Uni here and Uni there. If there weren't clones, then what were they? No matter how I looked at it, I couldn't think of them as anything other than the same person. Besides, doesn't the fact they both have the same Kusada Uni decide everything? Now that it come to this, I have no other choice. I've got to ask him directly. Solve myself, then fire off the next question. Uni, will you answer one last question? Both of these are important. I want to ask them both. But he might recognize Yomogi and Lin because we've already talked about that. We've talked about the crash, I think. Ask why he's at Sphia. Why are you here? Why? That's... A shadow formed over Uni's face. No, not a shadow. Instantly covered over with despair. Not a single trace of a playful expression was anywhere to be found. Sitaro, I'm... Face as pale as a corpse's. His cheeks twitched in a weird way, oddly spasming. Well, I asked the right question. Here's hoping it doesn't hurt him. His breathing grew labored. Perhaps he himself had noticed this as he tried his hardest to return his rhythm to normal. What is it? Are you okay? But my worried voice didn't seem to reach his ears. His eyes were frozen in a single point on the floor. His entire body began to tremble violently. As though he was drawn to something, he raised both his hands in the air. The small hands balled themselves in stiff claws. Uni, hang in there! He grabbed his shoulders and shook him. It was a sudden change that I'd forgotten about in my confusion. What should I do? What should I do? Just hang in there for a second. I'll go call Utsumi-san. Released his shoulders and turned around. As soon as I did, strong pressure held my arm back. And he grabbed on my right arm. Wait, Sitaro. Don't leave me alone. In my bewilderment, I was unable to shake him off. Uni murmured something in a soft voice. A small, weak voice. Placed my ear closer to his lips. I'm scared. I'm scared, so scared. Feels like I'm gonna be crushed. Of what? What are you afraid of? Here, Sphia. Sitaro. Why am I here? Why am I locked up in this place? I wanna go back. I wanna go back home. Got it, don't worry, everything will be okay. I'll manage something. I'll definitely get you out of here. Really? Yeah, it's a promise. So won't you tell me? Before you got here, what were you doing? I don't know. Even I don't know. Except that I got in an airplane, and that airplane crashed. Airplane crashed? Did he mean Flight 18? But Uni said he didn't know anything about Mount Akakura. What does that mean? And then after that, when I came to, I was here in this place. Even though I should have been walking in the snow. Before I knew it, I was at the Sphia place. Good. That narrows the timeline. I'm not sure if that's important. But the crash happened and then the swap occurred. In that instant, everything fell into place. Based on what Uni just said, I could think of only one thing. Like Kokoro and I, you need to become wrapped up in this transference phenomenon as well. Yes! Satoru gets it! But in Uni's case, he wasn't exchanging bodies and swapping consciousness with another person. He was probably exchanging consciousness with his own body. Satoru! Will you really get me out of here? Yeah, I promised, right? I'm a guy who keeps his promises no matter what. Satoru! Satoru! Crying out in sorrow, Uni leapt in my arms. I gently held his small body close. Unaware, he continued to cry in my arms. The back I embraced as he cried felt so small. The nape of his neck and shoulders seemed so frail, like they could break at any moment. He really was only a child. An innocent, pure, and easily hurt child. That living warmth felt so dear to me. I had to protect him. That feeling began to well up inside me. His tears continued flowing unabated. I felt that I ought to be here for him until his tears dried up. Uni, who calmed down, was now resting on his own bed. I wanted to stay with Uni for a little while longer if possible, but that wasn't an option. There were still things I needed to do. With that nagging thought in the back of my mind, I parted from Uni. I already decided where I was going next. I opened the door to the room. Entering, I saw Inabushi Keiko sitting on top of the desk. She looked toward me, both her feet dangling in the air. "Who are you?" she said. "Who are you?" Even after dispensing with greetings for her, to question me like that was awful sudden. "Hey, don't you know me?" Yanking idly on her long hair, she answered. "Oh, I remember. We met yesterday, come to think of it. You promised you'd protect me, and you didn't do anything." "Well, all she hit me with was a tranquilizing drug, so I guess it doesn't really matter." Oh, right, the whole... Whoops. Good thing she doesn't have too many hard feelings about that. Constance of the conversation aside, I was taken aback by her attitudes and manner of speech. She seemed like a completely different person compared to the girl from last night. The girl who clung to me, pleading me to save her. There wasn't so much as a trace of her anymore. "And you are?" she asked. My mouth was frozen shut. I couldn't answer. "Hey, you're listening, right? You entered someone else's room without knocking. Moreover, this is pretty much our first meeting, yet you won't even introduce yourself. What's up with that? Isn't it pretty rude?" Wow, she's more talkative! Bewildered thoughts began to whirl around in my head. "This is pretty much our first meeting," is what she said. Does that mean she hasn't met Fuyukawa Kokoro either? It's our first meeting, even including times when my body was being controlled by Kokoro. Is that how it is? Adding to the theory that she swaps when we do. "As if... Just kidding," she said suddenly in a bright, playful voice. As it leapt from her mouth, she too jumped from the desk. Gliding smoothly across the floor, she drew towards me. After crouching down once, she suddenly took a great hop forward. On rising, her face was now so close to mine that her breath fanned against her cheeks. Her eyes held an impish spark. Her lips were curved in a soft grin, as if she were trying to cover up some kind of prank. I don't know what it was. As if trying to act more reserved. "Your name is Fuyukawa Kokoro." "Actually, I knew that all along. I heard it from the Uni kid." The more she said, the greater my confusion grew. Mystery upon mystery upon mystery. I felt like I'd been drowned in a whirlpool of them. In the meantime, it felt like I ought to do something to dam this flood of information. I had to resolve each issue one at a time. I addressed her in a strained voice. "I'm not Kokoro. I'm Yukito Sutaru." I heard those words so many times I was getting sick of them. They could practically be my catchphrase by now. Answering like that on one conditioned reflex. "Oh, is that so? Yukito Sutaru. You're the personality Uni mentioned, right?" "Hold on a second. Can you not treat me like I'm some sort of stand-in? After all, I'm the original owner of this body." "In other words, you're the main personality, Sutaru." Well, I don't mind if you think of it like that, but... muttered somewhat bitterly. Given the current situation, I didn't feel like explaining the transference phenomenon to her, of all people. "Okay, got it. Then the you right now is Yukito Sutaru. Were you the one who chased me away at the basement yesterday?" "Yeah, that was me." She stole a glance at me, then averted her eyes just as quickly, a scornful smile forming on her face as she did. "And I think about it, I never told you my name, did I?" "Oh, I already know. Your name is... Susukage Hattori, right?" "Huh? How did you know that?" Seems to hit the mark. Right now, the dominant personality girl in front of me is Susukage Hattori. That's what I concluded from Utsumi and Yuni's remarks. She'd even been Hattori for a while now, having concealed her Inabushi Keiko personality in the meantime. "Well, whatever. That's right. My name's Susukage Hattori. The Ho from Inaho, ear of rice, with the pitter-patter of Tori, bird. It's a cute name, isn't it? Chirp, 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 chirp. She made the sound of a beak with her hand and began to peck at my chest. I'm weak against girls like her. When I say weak, I mean I have trouble figuring out how to deal with them. It wasn't like I could grab her wrist to make her stop. Bewildered though I was, she had me under her mercy. And what'd you come here for, Satoru? She asked that while flapping her hand open and shut as if the beak was talking. Nothing. I was just wanting to talk for a while. Now that I had established that she really did suffer from DID, I knew what I wanted to ask her. But a new mystery had been born the moment I entered this room. I tried to put forth some doubts. Hey, Hattori, why'd you lie just now? Lie? You act like you didn't know my name, right? Oh, that. I just wanted to tease you a little. Satoru, you may be talking all sensible right now, but you're actually not quite right in the head, are you? You got DVD, wasn't it? DID, actually. Dissociative Identity Disorder. That's it. That's it. You have the what? Dissociative thing. Dithing. Thingy, right? Yeah, I guess that's right. I answered her with that, since explaining in detail would have been too much of a hassle. That's why I was wondering how you'd react if I pretend not to know you. Just basic curiosity, I guess. At that face. That face. Are you angry? No. No, not really. You're lying. You're definitely angry. Look at your face. No, don't be angry. I most deeply and sincerely apologize. I really do. She clapped her hands and dipped her head in a courtly bow. Unsurprisingly, I was having a hard time figuring out how to deal with her. I crossed my arms and looked out the window, but she still remained there with her head bowed. I get it. Enough. Raise your head already. What? Then you're going to forgive me? Yeah. Really? You're not mad? Nope. Once I told her that, she spun around to light, wearing a wide smile across her face. Yay! Thank goodness. I don't know how to deal with this either. This is completely new information. But they've got to be linked. The swap has got to be linked. Because it just makes too much sense. If she hated the thought of anyone disliking her so much, then she should have mocked me in the first place. I couldn't understand her demeanor. Afterward, I presented her with two questions. It wasn't clear how much what she said was the truth, though. Questions and answers were as followed. Is it true you've heard my name from uni? It's true indeed. Hattori, Inabushi Keiko, and I had supposedly been in this facility for a while now. However, until she'd heard it from uni, Hattori didn't know my name. I mean, Hattori personality hadn't surfaced until yesterday? At any rate, this meant that that when she said this is pretty much our first meeting was the truth. 2. Then, have you ever met Fukaku's personality? Nope. Nope, she said. Her previous impression that DID was based solely on what Uni and Itsumi had told her. In actuality, she had never spoke to Fukaku's consciousness herself. What did this mean? But we know by now that Kokoro has talked to Tori's mute personality, so who the hell is that one? Did Kokoro purposely try to avoid Hattori? The above 2 points were the source of my confusion. Of course, I couldn't take everything Hattori said to be absolute truth. Anyway, let me repeat myself, don't trust anyone says here. I remember those words Utsumi said yesterday. But, then what was she saying that I should believe? The skeptic must also doubt skepticism itself. A school of thought in classical philosophy, with human cognizance being highly subjective and relative, it is very unlikely that everything one perceives is absolutely true. Therefore, all things should be viewed with doubt initially. Final judgments on everything, new information should be suspended until it has been thoroughly investigated and proven to be veracious. This is skepticism. Actually, the original nihilism is a step further from this. Nihilism isn't actually everything is nothing and nothing matters, as it is in modern nihilism. In classic nihilism, skepticism was one step lower, and nihilism went ahead and said, because even our own senses cannot be trusted, because we aren't sure of how perfect they are, or if they perceive the real meaning or existence of anything, nothing should be trusted at all. Ever. Even with proof otherwise. Because there can be no objective proof, because we do not have the means to observe this objective proof. I always liked the classical nihilism. It was fun. Can't say that it's very constructive, though. Though I'd still leave myself a little room for doubt, I decided to accept everything Hattori said. Is that everything? Yes, for now. Okay. Then would you do something for me now? What? Come here a sec. Without warning, Hattori had taken my arm. With a firm hold on me, she pulled me further into her room. Completely helpless, I stumbled as she led me. The bed. Man, if a Lumiar was here. Wow. He would be so excited. Stopping in front of it, she turned to face me. What? What are you doing? Hush. As I stood there confused, she proceeded to wrap her arms around my neck. She drew our bodies right up against each other. The situation is... Hi! What are you so afraid of? Hattori wore a charming smile. Her hand began to softly stroke my hair. What do you want? Don't you know? I swallowed my saliva with a gulp. No, rather I tried to swallow. The inside of my mouth was bone dry. It's nothing big. It's easy. It'll be over really quick. But if you feel like going on for longer, you can do it for as long as you want. Until tomorrow morning, okay? Her pupils shimmered licentiously, as did her voice, her hands, her lips. What are you trying to say? I squeaked out, my voice cracking. It was more of a, what are you trying to say? She exhaled through her nose with a little puff, gently, as if to blow out a burning candle's flame. Even the breath had a coquettish air. I'm not trying to say anything. You don't have to say anything either. You can do it without a word, and I want you to. She whispered in my ear. Sweet scent rose from her body. Oh shit! When did this happen? Am I gonna have to censor something? Because I really don't want to have to. My goodness. It was a mellow fragrance, potent enough to make me dizzy. She was destroying my reason with a simple aroma. It didn't feel like I could contain my impulses rising up from my nether regions any longer. Okay. Okay. You'll do it, won't you? Ha-ha! Run away! Quit screwing around! I thrust her away and stood up straight. I don't know what's running through that head of yours, but you'd better stop playing with me. If you believe that all men are easy to manipulate, you've got another thing coming. At the very least, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not the kind of guy who'd fool around with just anyone. On the bed, lying face up after I snapped at her. She suddenly laughed out loud. Oh, my stomach hurts. It hurts. She writhed with laughter on the bed. I was absolutely dumbstruck. I'm gonna die laughing. If you believe all men are easy to manipulate, you got another thing coming. Stupid, too stupid. Just what are you thinking about, honestly? Lamaze style. Wow, she just keeps laughing. I left her rolling around the bed and returned to my room. That was interesting. Very glad Alou missed that one. Hattori's behavior today. Perhaps she purposely treated me with scorn, but for some reason I wasn't angry at all. Rather, I felt kind of sorry for her. It's clear that she's mentally ill. At first glance, she appeared to be just an ordinary selfish girl, but it wasn't as simple as that. As I watched her make fun of others, only to fall down laughing at the hilarity of it, I could see through her facade a deep-rooted sickness it hid. Totally telling me to go fuck myself. This is not working well. Not letting me watch. I'll have to disappear for now and catch us when you post on YouTube. Tomorrow's a better day for internet. That's okay, Shamir. It sucks your internet sucks doing shit, and then I will try and be extra diligent about getting this up to YouTube ASAP. But yeah, I'll see you later. Suzukage Hattori. Would I be able to save her? I couldn't stop thinking that. Time passed. Soon it was 4 p.m. I'd returned to my room to throw myself onto my bed deep in thought. First off was Hattori. It was a problem that couldn't be resolved no matter how much I thought about it. Flipping the switch, I turned my focus to transference phenomenon. There was a clue that could be a key to unfolding it, and that was Uni's existence. I thought about Uni. Uni had gotten caught up in the transference phenomenon too, same as Kokoro and I. However, he differed from us in one respect. Uni's consciousness had only transferred once. He made the same connection I did! If you compare the speech and behavior of the two Unis at Shelter Camp and Sphia, that much was evident. In terms of personality, Uni at Sphia was consistently the Uni here, and the Uni at Shelter Cabin was always the Uni there. In terms of location, the behavior of the two had always been highly consistent. In other words, it's like this. Uni and Sphia at this moment, the one who originally dwelled in that body, has the consciousness of the Uni from the Shelter Cabin. And as for the Uni in the Shelter Cabin, the one who's supposed to be dwelling inside that body, he was the consciousness of the Uni at Sphia. Their consciousness had been switched in the transfer. To put it more simply, he had to experience a time jump as well as a spatial one. The Uni at Sphia was only a year older than the Uni at Shelter Cabin. Naturally, their height probably differed, as well as the makeup of the large portion of their cells, but in terms of genes, they were the same individual. That's why, regarding Uni, it would probably be okay to omit the personality exchange phenomenon concept. It may actually be a personality exchange, but because the two possess the same DNA, it wouldn't be too difficult to consider a time-only jump. Well then, that's the question. The problem became, why did Uni's body exist here at Sphia in the first place, after all? Of course, nothing will come to it even if I were to ask Uni here. He's the Uni of 2011, because he's nothing but a victim of the misfortune of getting caught up in the transference phenomenon. Consequently, the one who should be the target of this question is the Uni over there. Give me a sec. There we go. Pulled up my chair a little bit. The Uni of 2012, the one who was at Mount Kakura of 2011. Now that I thought about it, it certainly did feel like this behavior was kind of suspicious. If he was the Uni of 2012, then why did he so calmly accept the child jump? Moreover, he'd been behaving as if he were the Uni of 2011. He was most likely deceiving us. Yes! Another connection! The guy definitely knows something. That's what I thought. I should try asking him directly next time I transfer. At some point, he leaves the message for Kokoro to have her ask everybody what the heck the time is, so she can come make the connection too. When I was pondering this to myself, I'd forgotten it's gotten completely dark outside. Next I need to... That's right, I have to reply to Kokoro. Sat in the front of my desk and picked up a pen. Hey, come on, Kokoro. Transfer at 1:07 p.m., that's it, yada yada. Replied, yada yada, but you know, it's writing this since Bill Cold. Suddenly at that moment I heard a knock on the door. Yes? Can you wait a moment? Calling out to whoever's on the other side of the door, I hurriedly continued writing my message. Careful, I'm a Shelter Cabin priority too, and I'm concerned about you. Yada yada. Alright, let's go say hello to the person at the door. Put down my pen and head to the door. Turned the knob and pulled the door open. The other side of the open door was Utsumi standing before me. She had both her hands folded about before her chest as she looked at me with a face full of anxiety. Oh shit! I don't remember what happens next. Old wise man. Talking to Yomogi a little bit. All of a sudden my field of vision shifted. I transferred to Shelter Cabin. My form had, of course, become that of Kokoro. She was sitting in a wooden chair. I had grown accustomed to even this random phenomenon, so I wasn't all that bothered. Oh? But something was off. Some kind of strangely uncomfortable feeling. Uncomfortable feeling, or should I say an unpleasant one? The old man? Why is the old man face so close to me? No, moreover, what are you doing? The uncomfortable feeling was coming from my right pinky. I felt someone tepid. Something soft and slippery crawling around my finger. On top of that, I felt as though the sea anemone was sucking on it. The old man's face was the same level as my hand. The finger was in the old man's mouth. The strange feeling came from the finger was in sync with the movements of his mouth. I desperately tried to assess the situation. In short, with this information to go on, what's happening right now is... Yomogi is sucking on my little finger. You cut it on something, and you're gonna overreact, and it's gonna be silly. My cute little pinky is being sucked on by a bearded old man. Why do they keep saying bearded? That is not what a beard looks like. His face was stretched out in an unpleasant leer. I clenched my other hand into a fist. Stop it! That's disgusting! Using all my strength, I knocked Yomogi off his feet. He went flying away from me. He somersaulted and rolled across the floor. It looked really painful, but it felt like it was a fitting punishment. Re-examined my right pinky. It was injured. There was a small cut there. It stung and it was bleeding. On the wrist of the same hand was a wristwatch. It was 6:05 p.m. now. I want a pain in the ass. I complained to myself to remove the wristwatch and abandon it on the table. Whew, that was a good one. He wiped his mouth as he stood. Are you an idiot? I was truly shocked. You became Yukito-kun. Yeah. More importantly, what the hell happened to my little finger? I asked as I showed him the cut. The knife. It's from the knife. Cut yourself on it. Me? That's right. That is to say, Kokoro did? Yeah. She just picked up the knife and started messing around with it. It's dangerous, so I told her to be careful, but... Really, what does she think would happen? That girl. Not like she's a little kid. Jeez, this hurts. Seriously. I unconsciously licked my bleeding finger. Tasted like old man. Ah! Gross. Damn it! Felt as if I'd lost something precious. Something really precious to a girl, although I'm actually mad right now. My purity, innocence, virtue, this nicotine-stained old geezer has soiled them. I've been soiled, It's such a horrifying tragedy, tears began to stream from my eyes. I think that's the indirect kiss that they make a big deal about in every manga ever. Oh well. I'm sure you'll find a way to survive, and since it's never mentioned to Kokoro, congratulations, she never finds out. By the way, old man, did you give Kokoro that piece of cardboard for me? Wrapping myself in the blankets, I asked as I watched the fire in the stove. Huh? Oh, sorry, I forgot. What the hell? Seriously? Sorry. I'll definitely do it next time Fuyukawa-san comes back. I'm counting on you. Reminded him one more time. Then I took the VR in my pocket. Kokoro might have listened to the message. And if she had, it's almost certain she'd record an answer. I looked at the playlist, only Data 1 and 2 were listed. Played Data 1. I'm a seagull. Why is it relisted? It's giving him his version of it now? Kokoro said that these are beautiful words. However, in reality, the phrase is not exactly something you should be awestruck by. Seagull in Russia would be chakya. Or Chaika? And incidentally, was also the call sign, something akin to a nickname of Vostok 6. In other words, just an astronaut was one. This is Apollo, here's a new copy. Tereshkova contacted respective commander center, the Vostok 6, with this is Seagull. When the phrase was translated to Japanese, it was mistakenly translated as, I am a seagull. As a result, it became widely known in Japan as Tereskova's poetic description of herself floating in this void of space. An interesting fact to note, the Vostok 1 that Gagarin piloted was called the Kadir, Cedar. If that name was used to call sign Vostok 6, perhaps such a misinterpretation would not have occurred. Oh, so apparently it's a misinterpretation. These were the words uttered by the first woman in space for Tereshkova. All alone, yada yada, place of complete silence and emptiness. Zoom recording from January 11th. It's not a reply from me, so I went ahead and played Dota 2. Kokoro, this is a continuation message from before. There's no reply yet, which would mean that she still hasn't listened to my message, huh? I recalled what was happening before the transfer. Back then, I wonder what brought Utsumi to my room. She was kind of fidgety, and her eyes were full of unease, almost as though she were afraid of something. I had a really bad feeling. I was beset by vague uneasiness with no clear cause. Kokoro probably still hadn't heard my warning. If some unforeseen trouble was going to be at Sphia right now. The flame of the stove before me flickered. The firewood, when popped, a quick, vivid sound, within popped. Really? Another swap this fast? I forgot. Seized. Without warning, I was plunged in complete darkness, and a moment later, a sharp pain traveled up my left arm. The pain was agonizing, as if I were being burned. Unable to stand, I cried out, "What is it? What the hell happened?" I gave in and began to panic. Wait, calm down. Calm down and think. Look at the situation with a cool head. During the throbbing pain in my arm, I reeled my brain around and forced it to think. The smell. The room smelled odd. Odd was also the word to describe the way the room's temperature felt against my skin. That wasn't all. My physical senses, even the feeling of clothes against my skin, had undergone a complete change. In the first place, why is it I'm standing up right now when I was sitting down just a moment ago? In other words, I'd transferred to Sphia. Why is it so dark? Why is the pain in my arm? The pain was unbearable. I could tell it was no minor wound. Judging from it, I had probably been cut. Pretty roughly at that. A large amount of blood seemed to be flowing steadily from the wound. So what the hell happened? Squinting, I looked around I looked at my surroundings. As though through a haze, I could gradually see the area around me. I'm in the living area, huh? Ah! Sensing another's presence, I turned around. There was someone there. I could see a human silhouette in the darkness. It was standing not too far from me. However, I couldn't make out who it was. Who's there? The unknown person's right hand was holding something. Something that was reflecting a cold light. It was a knife. The hand's silhouette held a knife. Was this bastard the one who cut my left hand? Memory from yesterday rose like a flashback. I fall from the clock tower. I attempted drowning in the bathtub. It was still hard to believe, but it appeared someone was really after my life. And now my attacker had finally appeared before me. Knife in hand, the shadow slowly began to approach me. Slowly, slowly. As if the shadow was sliding across the floor, the distance between us quickly lessened. A chill ran up my spine. Why was it so dark? Where was the electricity? Where were the lights? The knife drew ever closer. The exposed blade glittered in the dark. I'll be killed. Instinctively, I stand my ground. Reflexively, I kicked off from the floor and launched myself toward the shadow. My actions might have caught it by surprise as it took a stance that revealed its bewilderment. This is my chance. If I use something to its opening, disarm it. I grabbed for its right arm. But, when I extended my arms, an unbearable pain went through the left one. I'd forgotten about my injury. The overwhelming pain sent me staggering. I stumbled right in the direction of the silhouette. We fell in a tangle to the floor, and a desperate struggle ensued. Soon, a piercing pain ran through my abdomen. A burning hot pain. Instantly, nausea overcame me. I felt like a vomit welling up in my throat. Well, I avoided a large quantity of something on the floor. There's our first bad ending! Was I stabbed? My vision blurred. My sense of balance disappeared. As if I were melting in darkness, slowly I collapsed. Before long, the pain began to dull. My senses slowly ceased to operate, and gradually I felt nothing at all. No. Then in darkness, I saw that shadow darker than the night with my own eyes. You're... Just before I could get the words out, the lips of the shadow obstructed mine. Long hair fell across my face. That was the last thing I ever saw. I'm sorry, what? Story is not finished yet. Truth is not revealed. And it circulates through an incident. It is an infinity loop. Well then, that was interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and shortcut. What's with all these crossed out parts? Why are they crossed out? The only ones not crossed out are the equivalent days that we've experienced for Satoru. That's super weird! But man, this is far back. Okay, hold on. Alright, just hold tab. I didn't save for a while, and that's what caused this. My bad. This is gonna take forever, even with the skipping. There we go. Now we can skip. Have some. Skip, 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 skip. Skip faster, please. goodness, this is a while ago. Man, I should have saved. What? Why has something changed? You're the underling of that Utsumi woman, aren't you? Conversations take about attitude, manner, speech. A completely different person compared to the girl of last night. Girl who looked up with pleading eyes. No trace of her anymore. Why'd something change? You didn't let me skip that. I don't think I did anything different. Alright, now we've gotten past this. Once this does the save, I'll go ahead... what does the load, I'll save. Come on. I know this is like the only time in the entire game you have to do like save points or anything. There we go. Save. Alright, run away! I broke into a run. Where should I go? Where would be safe? I need to find a place to hide. This is why I didn't run to begin with, because there's nowhere to hide! It was at the moment I had the thought. Ugh. My foot bumped into something. Pain ran along my shin as I took a spectacular tumble. I tripped over the table. Damn, I had to get up. I pushed myself up the floor with both hands. Sharp pain pierced my left arm. I fell down again, writhing in pain. It's no good. No good at this rate. An alarm went off inside my head. My entire body was covered in cold sweat. At this rate, I'll be killed. Shit! The really, really fast transfer! Hooray! Receive. The concealing darkness before my eyes disappeared in an instant. A faint red light softly illuminated the surrounding area. I was in the shelter cabin. Another transfer had occurred. I'm saved. However, the thought didn't last long. I felt a strange sensation in my feet as though being touched by something syrupy. It engulfed me in my ankles, climbing up my knees and crept up my thighs, now reaching my waist. It wormed up my spinal cord, ate into my intestines, pierced my lungs, began to overflow my trachea. The stench of rot made me nauseous. The smell of death, the breath of the Grim Reaper. The sharp edge of the sickle dug into my throat. I shook my head wildly, drive away delusion. However, the anxiety wouldn't disappear, began to engulf my entire body. Right now I'm alive. If the next time transfer occurs, I could wind up dead. And I know what happened to the body I left behind in Sphia. It might have already been chopped into pieces by the hands of that unknown maniac. The term half-dead was taking on a whole new meaning to me. It's almost like the cat locked in the box. Schrödinger! That refers to Schrödinger's cat, a thought experiment intended to critique of quantum possibility theory proposed by Bohr and Heisenberg, the so-called Copenhagen interpretation. Suppose the cat was put in a box equipped with a mechanism that would emit poisonous gas if a certain radioactive material decays. According to the Copenhagen interpretation, the microworld phenomenon such as radioactive emission was probabilistic by nature. Therefore, in this experiment, as it is caused by one such phenomenon, the life and death status of the cat itself ends up being probabilistic as well. It means the cat is both dead and alive at the same time. No certain conclusion of the state can be made until the box is open. The paradox embodied that the cute cat became one of the prime buzzwords of the era that marked the birth of quantum mechanics. My eyes dropped to Kokoro's wristwatch. Present time was 7:34 p.m. Kokoro, I'm begging you. Please get away somehow. Please be safe and survive. While I was at the shelter cabin, the only thing I could do was pray. Lifting my head, I saw Yomogi and Lin in the room. Yomogi had plunked himself down in a log chair and was reading and taped together a newspaper. It was the newspaper we'd reconstructed yesterday. Lin sat in the bed with her legs crossed, staring intently at Yomogi. One of her cheeks was clenched and twitched from time to time. Had they had some kind of disagreement? Lin had the face of someone trying to hold back the rising tide of resentment. Where was Uni anyway? Couldn't see him anywhere. At the moment I thought that, I heard a clattering sound coming from below the floorboards. From a square hole in the floor, a corner of the room, I looked into it and saw him there. Uni was fishing around a wooden box, searching for something. I thought about calling to him, then decided now wouldn't be a good time to stop myself. There was enough of time that I knew where he was. For the other two, neither of them said a word. Biting my lip, I walked around the room aimlessly as if trying to throw off the shadow of death. The shadow wrapped itself around my ankles and slid along after me. My heart raced to my chest. My warm blood became a muddy stream and coursed through my body. I placed my right hand against my chest and somehow tried to calm myself. By reflex, I quickly looked down at my open palm. My left hand. I hadn't noticed until now, but Kokoro's left hand had been gripping a voice recorder. Did she leave a reply? Clinging to that hope, I hit the voice recorder's power button. Data 3. There was a new voice file. I greedily pressed my ear to the speaker and listened to it. Shh, shh. Ooh. Ta-dunk. Thunk, shh. What's with all the sound effects? Did she drop it in the snow? It was disappointing, but there's nothing in the recording of meaningless noise. I don't remember her recording anything like that. But maybe she did. There wasn't any new data besides that. I unintentionally clicked my tongue. The voice recorder had gotten soaked with sweat. I wiped it down on my sleeve and placed it back in the pocket. When will the next transfer occur? What happened to my body? After this, I'll have to jump back into the blind darkness from before. And on top of that, my own consciousness will have jumped back without knowing what's going on. Knowing the big shove might come at any moment, I couldn't relax for a second. Besides that, well, I fear for myself at the same time I'm worried for Kokoro as well. What if Kokoro were to wind up dead because of me? If it came down to that, what would I do? She didn't have any connection whatsoever to the events at Sia. But in spite of that, even now there might be a sharp blade poised right above her throat. The image of Kokoro writhing in agony appeared in my mind. I want to save her. I want to change places with her this very instant. However, at the same time I felt a crushing sensation of fear. A maddening feeling of frustration gouged at my chest. Time slowly passed as my inner dispute continued. Inside the cabin shut in by the snowstorm. And though my body was freezing, an uncomfortable sweat ran down me without end. And then, just at that moment... Cut it out already! Lin's shrill voice reached my eardrums. I jumped in surprise and began preparing myself for the next attack. Timidly turned around. Lin stood up, her gaze directed at me, not at me, but at Yomogi. Yomogi was taken aback, was returning her gaze. She turned his way and began to approach, her high heels clicking against the floor. What's wrong? Without a word, Lin snatched a newspaper away from him. Hey now, you're gonna take away my only source of entertainment too. Entertainment? At the very least, I can use it to pass the time. I was reading it. Or would you rather be my conversation partner instead? Don't you think anything of it? How can you stay cool after reading such a thing? You staying cool? I'm just as scared as you are. However, in order to conquer my fears, I first have to discover the true nature of that newspaper. In order to climb down a mountain, you must know its true form in advance. That's the same thing. How can this newspaper have a true form? It's an obvious fake! A fake? You were singing a different tune last night, as I recall. There's no way it can be a prank, wasn't it? Shut up, it's an eyesore anyway. Don't go waving it around in front of me. With that declaration, Lin hurled the newspaper toward the wall. I flew in my direction. I quickly dodged it. The newspaper bounced off the wall and fell to the floor. Her Highness is quite violent today. Moe shook his head, fed up, and removed a cigarette from his pocket. Placed one in his mouth and lit it. He inhaled the smoke and blew it out again. What an insensitive man. Isn't he, though? Isn't he just? I think it's time for another break. So get up, stretch, whatever you do, be able to keep watching comfortably. And I will be right back.